And Linda Batzios is a resource teacher at Cedarcrest Elementary School in Cedarcrest. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We're talking about a very exciting program for a group of special needs children, or children who have certain difficulties. They could be autistic, they could be anywhere on that spectrum. A lot of people may be tuning in right now and saying, what is coding? Coding involves the computer.
Coding is the language that makes your computer do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
It's the language that you program in so you get the functioning that you want.
Right.
It makes you in charge of the computer, actually.
So a lot of people think that seems pretty challenging to begin with, but you're giving this as a project. You're including children who have their own challenges. Tell me a little bit about where this came from, where this idea came from to propose this to this group of children.
Actually, it came from my daughter. She was doing some work at Harvard University on curriculum reform policies in the United States education system. And she told me, she said, you know, they're starting to include coding in elementary school. And I said, coding? I need to look into this. So last summer, I started doing research online thinking, how could I bring this to my school? How could I do this? What would it cost? What would the cost be? I had to go fully prepared before I went to the principal and propose this to her.
So once you proposed it, you had a specific group of students in mind. Who are we talking about in particular? I mentioned children with autism, but
I just chose on a broad spectrum. I would like to have a nice, diverse group.
Right.
We're a fully inclusive school, so the children that have difficulties, the children that have any kind of problems are included in the classrooms. They learn like everybody else. Some may have aids, some don't. And I just like to take a nice broad spectrum of those children, as well as children who didn't have those problems. I chose children who were helpful and kind with each other, who were very interested in computers.
So what did you see? So with the children, for example, with some of these disabilities and some of these challenges, sometimes in a regular class setting, there is some difficulty. But tell me what you just told me. When it came to coding, what happened?
Oh, there was no difficulty. They were in the zone. The children were focused. They were into it. They knew after 15 minutes of instruction on the Scratch program, they knew what to do. They just went to work. They started building little websites. They started doing animations. One child made his own Mario game.
Wow.
Where he drew Mario, he drew the princess, and he drew a monster. And he had them all animated, all walking, making sounds. So they were really involved. And this went on once a week for 8 weeks. But once they became part of the Scratch website, they had their own accounts, and they were allowed to work on it at home, which they continue doing.
And Linda, the goal here is to make sure eventually that these children can be functioning adults and have jobs. This could lead to jobs. You were telling me about Silicon Valley, for example.
Well, yeah, this is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that it sparks interest in children that maybe never even occurred to them that something like that would be interesting. And this is why the STEM disciplines are the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and they're lacking in girls. This is where girls are sort of not really a part of. So this year, I'm doing an entire coding program with girls only, and we're going to call it our Hour of Power.
The Hour of Power. Linda Batzios, keep up the good fight. I love this. These are great projects. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.